Hi everybody. In our last lesson we talked about how Moses went up to the mountain and saw the promised land, and then he died. God took him up to heaven. And so today we're going to talk about what happened after that. And you'll remember that Joshua was going to be the next leader, and he was a really important person. On this picture there's some pictures representing his past. So he started it as a slave in Egypt. He went on to be a captain of Israel's army. He went on to be Moses' right-hand man, servant, helper. He even went partway up Mount Sinai with him when he went up to get the commandments from God and speak to God, although he didn't go all the way, only Moses did. And then he was also one of the 12 spies, you'll remember that, who went into Canaan originally, and there was only the two of them, Caleb and Joshua, who brought back a good report. So he was a faithful man. He was a man of faith. He was a leader, and he was a soldier. God told Moses before he died to publicly bring Joshua in front of all the people and to the high priest, and he was to make him the leader in front of all the people to show that he was set apart to be the next leader. Also, God personally spoke with Joshua and told him, that he would not fail or forsake him, that he was going to be with him everywhere he went. And that would definitely make you feel a lot better about your new situation if you knew that God was going to be right there with you and guiding you in everything you did for absolute sure. He would make sure everything happened just the way he wanted it, so that Joshua didn't need to be afraid of anything. Also, the people accepted Joshua. They knew he was going to be the new leader, and they accepted him as though he were like Moses was. God even said that he would be like Joshua just the way he had been with Moses. So he needed strength, he needed courage, and he would have success. I'm going to read a little bit in Joshua chapter 1, verses 8 and 9. And this is what God told Joshua. This book of the law shall not depart out of your mouth. In other words, he would speak of the law of God all the time. But you shall meditate therein, think about it all the time, meditate therein day and night, that you may observe to do according to all that is written therein. So he was to talk about it, he was to think about it, and he was to obey it all the time. Then thou shalt make thy way prosperous, and then thou shalt have good success. So there's the secret for his success. God said, have not I commanded thee? Be strong and of a good courage. Be not afraid, neither be thou dismayed, for the Lord thy God is with thee whithersoever thou goest. So it's not enough he was a faithful man, but sometimes we can have the idea that as long as we have faith, that's all that matters. We forget that there's something we need to do. We need to be strong, have a good courage. He actually needed to pick up his sword and shield and go into battle in order to go into the promised land and accomplish the things God had for him to do. The people in Canaan were not going to just be like, oh no, the Israelites are here, let's go away, we'll leave them all our stuff and just leave. No, that wasn't going to happen. He needed to be strong and courageous and bring his sword to battle. But God said that he would be with him and help him in everything he did. Okay, so here's Joshua. He's looking across the Jordan River, and the first city he sees in Canaan, in the promised land, the first battle they were going to have to fight was Jericho. And I know you all know this story, but I'll just quickly go through it anyways, just to remind you of what happened. Remember, Jericho was a strong walled city. And remember, Joshua had experience being a spy. And so what he did was he picked two men to be spies, to go ahead of the rest of the Israelites, to sneak into Jericho and spy it out and come back with a report for Joshua. And so the two spies went, they came to Jericho. Probably unbeknownst to them, they were noticed right away. And people quickly went to the king to tell him that those Israelites had come into the city to spy. And the two men wandered around the city looking around, and they came to a house of a woman named Rahab to stay there. And right away, the king sent messengers to Rahab saying, I know you have spies in there. You need to bring them out to us. But Rahab had a different plan. She told the two spies to go up on her rooftop, and she hid them under flax that she had drying on her rooftop, so that when the king's men came to her house, she said, oh no, well, I did have two men stay here, but they're gone now. They left just around dark when the gates were closing, the gates of the city. If you go really fast, you can probably catch up with them. You should go now and catch them. And so the king's men went away, running after the imaginary spies that had left the city. And she went back up to the rooftop to talk to the spies. And she told them that all of the people in Jericho were afraid of the Israelites. Their hearts were melted. They were like wax, just waiting to see what God, their God, was going to do. They had heard about the parting of the Red Sea. They had heard how God had given them victory over the two nations on the other side of the Jordan. And they were just watching and waiting in fear and trembling for the Israelites to come. And so she said, listen, I know you're going to come, and I know your God will give you the victory over Jericho. So will you please have mercy on me and my family the way I have had mercy on you? And the two spies said, well, if you will hang the scarlet cord, she was going to let them down with a red cord, a scarlet cord. They said, if you will hang this in your window when we come back, everyone that is in your house will be safe. So you should go bring all your loved ones into your house. If they are not in your house, we can't promise that they will be safe. But if they are in your house, we will have mercy on anyone in your house because of what you have done for us. And so they made a pact with her. They said, this whole thing will be null and void if you tell anybody all about us. But if you keep this all secret and you maintain your side of the bargain, then we will maintain our side of the bargain. And so that's what they did. She tied the cord in the window because the gates had been shut. She let them down the wall, and she told them to go hide in the mountains for 3 days until the searchers had come back to the city, and then they would be safe. So sure enough, everything she said was true, and they did everything she said. They were able to go back to the Israelites and tell Joshua all about the city. And the searchers never found the spies. And you will hear more about what happened when Joshua and the Israelites came to Jericho in our next lesson. That was actually 2 lessons in one, and that went really fast. So I hope you have a great week, and we'll see you later.